Ready. The Board of Trustees of Lamar Consolidated Independent School District is called to order at 6:30 p.m. This is a regular monthly board meeting being held on September 17th, 2024. We have a quorum with 6 members present. Trustee Bronzell is absent tonight. Please join me for a moment of silence to observe as you feel appropriate. Thank you. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance and the pledge to the Texas flag led by 6th grader Ray Torres from Navarro Middle School.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Please be seated. Dr. Nivens, are there any recognitions or awards?
Yes, sir. We do have one, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Hamilton.
Good evening, Board President, trustees, Dr. Nivens, and the Lamar CISD community, and for those who have joined us in person and virtually tonight. Now that our students are back on campus, we're starting to hear about the exciting things happening across our district for this school year, but we're also hearing about some successes that occurred over the summer months. This evening, we are proud to highlight one of our George Ranch seniors who, together with her teammates, which have now graduated, celebrated a national win this summer. Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations to Elizabeth Pham. Come on up, Elizabeth. Stay right here. Elizabeth is now in her senior year at George Ranch High School in the 23-24 Technology Student Association series of competitions. Elizabeth and her team advanced from the state meet and went on to compete at the national level this summer in Orlando, Florida, where they placed first in the geospatial technology event. Elizabeth was the only junior on her team last year, and we're proud to recognize her this evening for this national first place win. Way to go, Elizabeth, and congratulations to the team advisor, Mr. Brian Saunier. Thank you. President Lambert, trustees, those are all the recognitions for this evening.
Dr. Nivens, are there any introductions?
No, sir. We do not have any introductions tonight.
Okay, we will now have the board member reports. Trustees, please keep your comments and reports to 1 to 2 minutes, and we can use this opportunity to give thanks and shout out to any of our staff and anyone we see fit.
Know me, I like shout outs. It's very quick tonight. I know that we've got a few more to go, but I do want to shout out to our communications team, especially to Sonia Cole-Hamilton and Dr. Kenesha Waits for their hard work and for the dedication of our 2 elementary schools. We recently attended those events, those ceremonies, and of course, for Willie Melton Elementary and Viola Rand Elementary. The family and friends of those 2 individuals were so impressed with our dedication for their loved ones, and we appreciate all your hard work for making those celebrations so special. And I know we've got more to go, but thank you for now.
I'm I know I shouted out George Ranch last time, but I'm going to do it again because they hosted a cheer and dance clinic this past weekend that was amazing. So to Miss Scopel and Miss Suey and the Lariats, the Bells, and the Longhorn cheerleaders, I guess as they're called. Just great job. They managed 129 girls and raised a ton of money for their program. So just great job. My daughter had an awesome time, and the game was really fun to watch them cheer and dance. So.
Yeah, I want to thank Stacy Johnson, Sonia Senzos, and Heather Patterson, the three principals at the ranch schools, and Sherilyn Anthony at Wright Junior High, and Monica Crane at Randall High School. I recently visited these schools and walked around as a board member, and I find that these campus visits are very important for me as a board member because it kind of brings some reality to what we talk about and all the emails that we do behind the scenes and all the communication I have with Dr. Nivens during the week and the month between board meetings. It kind of makes it real again. And so they were very gracious to me as I was out at the campus recently. And I hope to go to a lot more schools this year. It just kind of depends on the principal's schedule, who I always schedule my visits with, and my own schedule. So, but thank you to those five.
I just want to remind everyone that not this weekend, but next weekend, Fort Bend County Fair starts. We've got a lot of kids that have been working real hard on a lot of different projects. So I ask that, everyone remember that, and if you get a chance, get out and support those kids. On top of that, our district employs quite a few contractors with all the construction and development that we've got going on in our district. So it would be great if they would show up. None of these projects are cheap for these kids. It costs a lot of money, and it'd be great if they'd get out and support these kids on auction night.
And then I just wanted to say, we went to Culver Elementary, and Principal Dickey showed us around, and we were able to watch what they were doing with their Innovative Day and just kind of see how the teachers were basically working it and then what the kids were doing at the same time. And I was very impressed, and I know that the teachers there seem to be really appreciative. So it'd be interesting to see how, as we go around to different schools, how they're implementing it at different campuses and how they can share that information among schools. So.
For mine tonight, I want to give props and shout out to our CTE departments. Tomorrow, we have 31 11th and 12th graders starting the Central Fort Bend Chamber CTE Academy. So there was 169 11th and 12th graders throughout our district that applied to be a part of this program. 31 selected. We have representatives across all of our high schools. So they will come and they will spend the next couple months visiting medical employers, industry employers. The sponsor for this event was Frito-Lay, so thanks to Frito-Lay and all the community members and partners in the Central Fort Bend Chamber, and then also our CTE staff, teachers, and behind the scenes on our admin level that are creating systems and opportunities for our students to get that real workforce experience and for them to open their eyes to see all the different employers and things they can do within our community. So tomorrow morning, we'll have 31 juniors and seniors have their eyes open to things they can do to make a living. So that is that. Does anybody have any committee reports? No committee reports? Okay. Dr. Nivens, do you have a superintendent report?
Yes, sir, I do. I want to kind of shout out the unseen heroes. To address the elephant in the room, we've across all districts in the state and the country, we get these threats online and all these things that kids say and that people say. And so I always want to acknowledge and celebrate our police officers because they work 24/7. And so sometimes Chief would be texting me at 3 or 4 a.m. And I'm like, man, go to bed. But it's a constant thing. So I want to celebrate our LCISD police officers, but I also want to celebrate the people. It's very difficult when you're a parent or you're a family member and you have your own family member engaging in behavior that's not safe for others. And sometimes we'll have parents and family members turn in their own family members because they know that's not the appropriate thing to do. And so I always want to celebrate them because that's very difficult, especially if it's your own child. And you have to turn in your own child that may face legal consequences and be arrested, but you know that's the right thing to do. And so I always want to celebrate those parents and those family members that take the time, they're in their child's life, they're paying attention to what's going on, and they see something and they say something, regardless of the consequences that may come. And so I always want to celebrate. So parents, if you're out there and you're one of those parents, we really do appreciate you, and the rest of our community appreciates you for standing up and doing the right thing.
All right, at this time, we will take action on the consent agenda. Are there any items that the board would like to pull?
I'd like to pull F, the approval of the class waivers,
Okay.
class size waivers.
All right, so we're going to pull F, consider approval of class size waivers. May I have a motion to approve the current consent agenda with the exceptions of item F? All right, trustee Welch makes a motion. Do I have a second? Trustee Danziger makes a second. Any discussion? I'll now call for the vote of the consent agenda with the exception of F. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We will now discuss motion F, or letter F. Oh, do we have I gotta make a motion. Do I have, make the motion to approve F?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to approve the consider approval of class size waivers.
Okay. Do we have a second? All right. Trustee Ubinak makes a second. Any discussion? Now we have discussion. Yeah. All right. Now we can discuss. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just from the discussion that I have with Dr. Nivens from with the email. So our class ratio is 22-1, but we don't file a waiver until 23, post for a new position at 24, and interview at 25, and then hire at 26. So I guess my question is there a particular reason why we do it this way? Like, what are our options as far as bringing in new teachers before we get to that size? Or maybe perhaps going to schools that have we did the rezoning, some schools have lower, bringing teachers from those schools that have lower attendance or, numbers to the schools that have higher ones so that we don't have to have 26 kids in the classroom.
Yeah, so we have a system we access teachers, and then we also have a system for that. So Mr. Bates will explain that for us.
So the immediate answer to the question that you're asking is, one of the things that we look into when even though you see the 23, 24, and 25, like before we take action, we also look at the area, because some of the areas that we have as far as the schools, if it's in a growing area, we try to make sure that we hire a teacher a lot sooner. But if it's an area where we see they have a 23rd student, we try not to immediately hire a teacher, because if it's an area where, let's say, for example, within the next few weeks, we can predict, due to the campus capacity committee meetings that we have, they're going to be declining in enrollment, then what we don't want to do is hire a teacher, and they're going to turn around and be below 22, 21, 19, 20 within the next few weeks. So we try to make sure we also balance, is it a growing community? Is it a not so growing community, or things like that? At the very beginning of the year, we kind of slow down, because we also want to make sure that we are not hiring excessive amount of teachers. So we try to make sure that there's a settling of, did all the students show up? Because every student didn't show up, unfortunately, for the first day of school or things like that. And we try to wait to as close as we can to Labor Day. Sometimes we move teachers slightly before then. But typically, we try to make sure we've moved them on as we speak, as of this very moment. The purple track, which you probably already know of, is where we have the most, where we have to access teachers to, or we have to start posting positions as well. So there's a lot that goes into as far as, do you really turn around and commit, is the right word to use? Do we want to commit to hiring a teacher as soon as 23, or do we want to see if we're ever going to go up and down? Because there's always an up and down motion that goes along with student enrollment.
But how can you predict if it's going to go down?
Once again, based on the area. So like the purple track, I can't think of a campus, an elementary campus on the purple track where we're going to predict that they're likely to lose enrollment and go down below 22, which is not worth filing a waiver for, and stay well below that. But we have some other areas within the district where it may be wise to go ahead and file a waiver, because they're likely to never go even above just the one student. And it's not 23 for the entire grade level, it's per class. So we may have one class, if we have 4, kindergarten classes, only one of them actually got to 23, the rest of them stay at 22. So then you have to ask yourself, do we want to commit the funds to hiring one more teacher for being over one student, or do we want to file a waiver, which the state allows us to do, to say, you can stay pat with just the one student, but we're committed to, well, at some point in time, you got to hire another teacher, because 3 and 4 more, which typically is like a group or a pod, 3 or 4 more students is just a bit much that you can put in the classroom, so it's time to hire another teacher.
You explained the excess process?
Yes. So at the very beginning of the year, like I said, we look and see where our campuses are as far as the 22-to-1 ratio, pre-K through 4. We also have a ratio for 5th grade as well. We try not to go too much above 25, around 26, 27. And then we start to look to see, as the students have shown there are no more no-shows, they pretty much came back from vacation and things like that. And then from there, we kind of look at all of our elementary campuses. We do the same thing for the secondary as well, but it's easier to explain when you're looking at elementary. We try to make sure that we have a healthy balance of 22-to-1 in all our campuses. So if we have a campus that's way below, because for whatever reason their enrollment did not meet what we projected, that's off the demographic report, some of the things we talk about in the spring, then from there we consolidate classes, but we try to make sure we don't go over 22-to-1 or well above 22-to-1, and then we take that teacher and we access them to another campus. So if they're at campus A, but their enrollment didn't meet what we thought it was going to be, we'll move them to campus B. That probably has a lot of students, and they're needing more teachers.
So what are the things we do when we do send a teacher to another campus? How do we support them?
So the first thing we do is we make sure that they're giving about a week to 2-week notice that due to numbers, you're going to be accessed. One of the things we try to make sure that we do is that we kind of help them pack up their rooms, we move them, and we also try to make sure we give them a $500 stipend to support, the cost of having to move or anything else they may have to do for other classes and things like that. And also this year, Dr. Andrews, our new executive director of HR, she made sure that they also got a crumble cookie to let them know that we would crumble without them. So we try to make sure that we realize it's a hardship to kind of move one school to start, but we try to make sure that they have all their academic needs as well as personal needs are taken care of as well.
Go ahead.
I know in the past that when we see this coming, we do talk to the principals that these waivers will affect. And I know even a while back, sometimes you would go to a grade level and say you're almost over, and some of those teachers don't want another one coming in just yet, because then you do have to make a new classroom, and those kids have made the connection, so you want to make sure
That's correct.
that you really need that teacher before you make, I've been one of those teachers that had to go do another grade 2 weeks after school started. It's not fun, but you do it if it's need be.
Yes,
So I guess you just need to watch, but all the principals are aware that you're asking a waiver for their campus, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Not just the campus, but for each class that's on their campuses.
So they discuss it with each grade level, what's happening?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But, I mean, it's not really their decision, it would be the principal's decision?
It's ultimately actually ours at the administration.
Yeah. I don't know, 26 just seems like a lot more than 22.
Understandable?
Yeah, so, go ahead.
Do we ever move teachers middle of the semester or at the change of semesters as opposed to only the first 2-3 weeks of school?
It's typically really just the first few weeks of school. That's, like I said, that's one of the things we try to predict and project. Because to move a teacher in the middle of the school year, let's say second semester or even late in the first semester, that's a hardship, not only on the teacher, but the students as well. Mm-hmm. So typically, we try to do our best. I don't want to call it guesstimate, because it's a very educated system and process that we use, but we can pretty much determine that there's not a campus where they're going to just consistently lose enrollment by the end of the school year. That's a whole nother conversational process that, we were talking about as far as, zoning and things like that.
So just for everybody to understand, so kind of one of the educational terms we use is called position creep. And so position creep is when you have too many people and not enough students. And so your budget's tied to kids. And so if you lose students, you have to lose people. If you gain students, you gain people. It's really that simple. And so if you hire a teacher, say for instance, with the state, we're getting, roughly $6,000 per kid, and we hire a teacher for initial $6,000, and we hire a teacher that's making $80,000, now that's position creep. So now we're upside down. And so it's a delicate balance of the budget also to make sure that we have enough students to pay for the teachers. So then we don't have to come to the board and say, we have a deficit budget because we're overstaffed. So this is one of those formulas that we use to make sure, also to make sure that we balance the budget. And we're not in the second semester having to RIF, like reduction in force, staff and send them home because we have too many adults.
So y'all feel like this is the only way to do it, to file at 23, post at 24, interview at 25, and hire when they have?
That's not the only way to do it, but that's the best way we can do it. I'm sure there are other ways to do it, but from our experience, that's been the best way to do it.
Correct. And if I can be very clear, when we know that it's in an area where they're growing super duper fast, we don't stick directly to 26 because we know that they'll be at 26 tomorrow. It's in one of those areas where they grow really, really slow. It's wise to stick to that formula. Because if not, not to do a sticker shock, but if we didn't file any waivers, then, we, like Dr. Nivens said, we'll have like position creep and stuff like that.
So, but you could have a teacher with 25 students for the rest of the year?
It's possible, yes, ma'am.
Would you not balance it? So if you had all classrooms, like in third grade at 22, and you got one extra student, you'd be one over, and you get a second student, you would not put that 24, you'd put it a second classroom with 23, right?
Correct.
All of them would get 23 in theory before any of them would get 24. Is
In
that
theory, correct. We do not decide that. The principals actually decide that. But yeah, typically in theory, you would just make sure they balance out 23, 23, 23 before you get to 24, 24, 24.
So if you had one classroom with 25 and everybody else was at 22, something's off. Leaving the decision to the local principal, something's off with that local principal at that point.
Yes, sir.
Would that be a safe assumption?
Yes, sir.
Well, I don't know if I would say something's off. I would probably think that principal has talked to that teacher, and that teacher's probably, a high performer. And so I'm sure a principal has talked to that teacher first that says, hey, I'm gonna give you 25 students, the other have 22, but, you're considered a master teacher.
Gotcha.
And so I know that'll be a conversation that the principal will have with their staff member before they do that.
I see.
Well, and it also depends on the child. Everything depends on that child and what their needs are. So you can't, it's just not, the only time that kind of happens is kindergarten when you don't really know the kids coming in. But in the other grades, they really know which kids need to go where. I don't know if this is the right time to ask this question, but I know we always have a lot of student teachers this semester that possibly could be ready to hire by next semester. Do
Yes,
we
ma'am.
have a group of those again this year?
We do. We have approximately, I believe the number is around about 17 this year.
Wow.
And last year, we did a good job of hiring majority of them. Majority of them stayed. We did have some that chose to not come back, but we do use that to be able to gain additional staff after the first semester.
And they can start working before the end of the semester, right?
Yes, once they complete their program, they typically wind up being long-term subs before the January rolls around, but by the time January comes and they get all their credentials taken care of, which is outside of us, they want to be in the
So
teacher's
we have
record.
some eyes on some teachers right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Good, thank you.
Can you, for the public, talk about how long a waiver can last? Because it's like, we talked about this last year, and we're talking about it this year. So
Yes, sir.
can you explain that process?
So the waiver is actually good for the remainder of the school year for just that class group. So typically, if we see others that kind of creep up, then we try to make sure, with you all's permission, we go ahead and make sure we file that waiver as well. But it's only good for the 24-25 school year. So we try to make sure that those classes aren't over again next year, but you all know we have hypergrowth, so, anything can happen as far as our student class sizes. But they are only good. We cannot file a multiple-year waiver.
Any other discussion? All right, I will now call for the vote. All in favor of approving consent item F, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, anyone wish to abstain? Motion passes 6-1. 5, I apologize, trustee Bronzel is absent, 5-1. At this time, we will take action on the action items.
All right, trustees, I will turn it over to Mr. Buchanan.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Dr. Nivens. Tonight, we're bringing forth a discussion and possible approval of some designs for 3 of our campuses, Elementary 37, 38, and High School 8. So Elementary School 37 is located near the intersection of Peak and Beech Nut. This is option 1. Option 2. Option 3. This was our committee members that voted on the 3 options. The committee members all voted for option 3. Are there any questions or discussion?
All right, that looks pretty clear. May I have a motion for the Board of Trustees to approve design development option 3 for the elementary school number 37? Trustee Welch makes that motion. Do I have a second? Trustee Box makes a second. Is there any discussion? All right, I will now call for the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Anyone wish to abstain? The motion carries. All right.
So elementary school 38, it is located in the Brookwater Housing Addition, and it is south of Rosenberg, and it is north of Beasley on Highway 59. Here was option 1. Option 2. Option 3. We had the same committee members. Their voting was, all of them voted for option 2. Are there any questions or discussion?
All right. May I have a motion for the Board of Trustees to approve design development option 2 for elementary school 38? All right, Trustee Danziger makes a motion. Do I have a second? Trustee Hotzel makes the second. Any discussion? I will now call for the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Anyone wish to abstain? The motion carries.
High school number 8. This is located at the county line between Fort Bend County and on 359. So that is located both on the east and the west side, the complex is, but this school will be located on the east side of 359 at the county line. This is option 1. Option 2. Option 3. These were the committee members that reviewed the 3 exterior designs for the facility. 10 of them voted for option 1, 0 for option 2, and 7 for option 3. Are there any questions or discussion?
All right, this one's gonna be a little tricky. So does anyone want to make an option or make a motion?
Yeah, I'll go with the majority of the committee. I was also torn, but my eye went to option 1 the best in the committee. I was pleased to see that the majority voted for option 1, so I'm going to make a motion that we approve option 1 for high school number 8.
All right, Trustee Welch makes that motion. Do I have a second? Trustee Ubanek makes a second. Any discussion? All right, we will now call for the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None opposed? The motion carries. All right, Dr. Nivens.
All right, trustees, we have Ms. Sonia Cole-Hamilton.
Good evening again. So the item that we are going to discuss now is to consider the approval of Faggart Elementary School and Haggard Elementary School's mascots. And so just to recap, the process for our elementary mascots, our area superintendent for the color track most likely associated with the new campus leads a committee to determine options for the mascot, sometimes with input from the namesake of a school or a family member. The options are narrowed down to top choices. Our graphic arts team completes a graphic for each option, and then once the mascot is selected and zoning is completed, the students will have the opportunity to select a name for their mascot. So the first campus we're going to look at this evening is Alice Deanne Faggart Elementary School. School. This school is located on the Secondary Complex 7 site off 723 near Belle Boulevard. A little bit about our campus namesake. Ms. Faggart went to school in Beasley. She was a lifelong learner and educator in Rosenberg. As a Fort Bend County teacher for 47 years, she received numerous awards, including the Teacher of the Year and the Houston Chronicle Golden Apple Teacher Award. She was known for her ability to engage students in creative ways. She taught elementary English and language arts, and many of her students went on to win writing awards. So when the committee got together, one option they wanted you all to consider, are the Faggart Foxes. When Ms. Faggart taught at Jane Long, the classes participated in a parade each year, and the Faggart's class was always the Faggart Foxes. They would dress up as foxes with ears and a tail, and so the committee thought it would be really fitting to present that as an option for you this evening. The fox is wearing a T-shirt with F for Faggart. The T-shirt will be recolored with the actual colors of the school. I believe red, white, black, and silver are the colors they've selected, but this is a design option for the fox. The other option the committee wants you to consider potentially would be the cardinals. They said Ms. Faggart liked the symbolism of a cardinal, symbolizing good luck and abundance and new transformation. So trustees, this evening, you get to pick between a cardinal and a fox for Faggart Elementary School.
Any questions or discussion?
What does the fox say? That's all I have to say.
I almost said it out loud. On tune.
It's a fun song. Look at you doing a jig over there.
All right. All right, do we have a motion from the trustees?
I'll make a motion to approve the Faggart Foxes as the school mascot.
All right, trustee Hotzel makes that motion. Do we have a second? I'll make the second. Trustee Danziger makes a second. Any discussion? I will now call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right.
Okay, we got the Faggart Foxes. So now let's take a look at James Richard and Marinella Haygood Elementary School. This campus is located at Cross Creek West in Fulshire. A little bit about our campus namesakes. They both were former teachers for the district. Richard Haygood was a history teacher for 34 years at Lamar Consolidated High School. He also managed our GT program at George Junior High and spent many years of community service being a Boy Scout leader, Little League coach, and a member of the Optimist Club. And he entertained nursing home residents with his singing and storytelling. Marinella was a former art teacher at Lamar Consolidated High School, where she mentored aspiring artists for more than 27 years. Both were active in the church and community. So this committee wants to present forward one mascot option. They want to be the Haygood Hedgehogs. Hedgehogs are curious, intuitive, and courageous. And our hedgehog is wearing a T-shirt donned with the Texas flag in honor of Mr. James Richard being a Texas history teacher.
Any questions or discussions? All right, do we have a motion from the trustees?
I'll make a motion to approve the hedgehogs.
All right,
The mascot of Haygood Elementary.
trustee Welch makes the motion to approve the hedgehogs as the mascot. Do I have a second? All right, trustee Box makes a second. Any discussion? All right, we'll now call for the vote. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. What does a hedgehog say, trustee Welch? Do we have an idea? No.
I'll get back to you on that.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
All right. So moving on to our next item, we are now going to present for you to consider the approval of the color track and the mascot for Tomas High School, Banks Junior High, and Bilstein Middle School. The process for our secondary campus is a little bit different. We formed a small internal committee which met to discuss the process and parameters. This summer, they collected community feedback via a survey regarding potential mascots and colors for our new secondary complex 7. In July, the committee of parents, principals, campus, and district staff met to review the survey results and develop a ranking and rationale for mascot and color options. So in the first survey, we received more than 1,000 responses, and the top suggestions were tigers, gators, bears, titans, and bulldogs. In survey number 1, the top suggested main colors were green and orange, with the secondary color being black. So in the second survey, we had about 700 responses, and we presented the top 2 mascot options, Gators and Tigers, and the top 6 color combinations, green and black, green and yellow gold, green and silver white, orange and black, orange and blue, orange and white. Trustees, the committee is recommending that if you go with Gators, you go with green. If you go with Tigers, you go with orange. And although the committee is recommending that you keep those items together, trustees, you could absolutely choose the colors and mascots independently. The Survey 2 data, from the Survey 2 data, we see that Tigers was the preferred mascot, coming in at 67%, and the preferred color was orange, coming in at 57%. We asked them what color would you pair with your main choice, and if it's orange, they liked orange and black. And if it was green, they tied green and black or green and silver or white. So to give you all a visual, we do have mock-ups of what the green color combinations could look like, the green and black, green and gold, and green and silver. And that's a mock-up of an athletic football uniform. We also have a mock-up of a band fine arts uniform. And then we have mock-ups of the orange color combinations, orange and blue, orange and black, orange and white. That's the football mock-up. And this is the band fine arts mock-up. Trustees, you now have a decision before you. And again, separately, we'll pick the colored track and then the mascot.
Ma'am, can you go back to the Survey 1 results? Can you put that on the screen for a second?
That one.
And did we ask about mascots in the first survey or just color?
Yes, in the first, it was an open-ended. They could
was
just,
open-ended.
whatever, yes. And so some of the top responses were Tigers, Gators, Bears, Titans, and Bulldogs.
All right, so go to that next slide that you were, okay, so it's 42, okay.
One of the thoughts I had towards this, we value the voice of our community, all that. My first thought was go back to legacy and where a person came from and what brought them to this position where they get a school named after them. And one of the things I heard resounding was Mr. Tomas's role as principal at George Junior High when they were the Gators. And for me, immediately, that made sense, and that landed with me. So I know our survey and the Survey 2 leaned more towards the Tigers. Then I started thinking about the Gators. Gators have meaning here in Fort Bend County, right there in that area. There's probably some Gators that were on that land at one point, and right across the way in Cinco Ranch, they have signs that say, "Don't feed the Gators." And I think about when we go and we build the school, we put the namesake on the wall, and in all the libraries, we talk about, at Randall and then at the elementary schools. And with the names that we just mentioned about Haygood, we talked about what meant to them and all that stuff. And then when I think about that and why we named mascots after the Hedgehogs and put a Texas on his shirt, it pays homage to Mr. Haygood. So my thoughts initially are, I hear about Mr. Tomas and what he did for the George Gators. So that's where I'm leaning on this is, the Green Gators, just because if we do the Tigers, we'll have the Tigers there, but then on the words on the wall, we'll say the Gators, potentially, so.
Well, as I said last month, as we were talking about this the first time, I personally, I know Mr. Tomas is partial to green and partial to the Gators, so I'm definitely lean on voting that way. And the one thing that gives me solace about it is the green won the first survey. So.
I hear what you're saying too, and I've been here a long time, and one of the first people I met was Jean Tomas, so we've known each other since I've walked into this. So I'm kind of I guess I'm a little partial, but I too have leaned towards the Green Gators. That's where my son got his first job, and they were still the Green Gators over there at George Junior High, they only changed when, and I agree that it has made a camaraderie of the different middle school, junior high, and high school to all go with the same mascot and colors, and it keeps them as a family, and I do appreciate that with the secondary. But it's kind of sad that we had it and it went away, so I would like to kind of see it come back.
When we put out this survey, I can't remember if we've asked this question before, did we give a history of Mr. Tomas, like, in the survey? And no, I
didn't.
wonder if we had the results maybe been a little bit different, if the community would have, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yes, no, we did not provide that historical context, but I was following a lot of the social media chatter. And so when the survey went live, lots of advocating on social media, and people did share that historical context there. So I saw a conversation there where people were made aware of his connection with the original Gator mascot.
Okay. I think I lean towards the Gators as well.
Well, I can tell you for a fact, there were gators on that property.
You see them.
I saw them up close and personal. Second, I mean, what was Mr. Tomas's recommendation?
I believe he was advocating for the Gators.
And as far as the colors,
Green.
green and,
Oh, I don't know if there was the green and, but I know green was something he was preferring, that he shared he was preferring.
I think we have our answer then.
All right. I will make the motion that we approve, the Board of Trustees approve green and Gators, I guess green and black as the school colors for Tomas High School, Banks Junior High, and Bilstein Middle School. All right, Trustee Ubanek makes a second. Any discussion? I will now call for the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None opposed? The motion carries. So there we go. And now we will need a motion.
All be welcome to the swamp.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the Gators as the mascot for Tomas High School, Banks Junior High, and Bilstein Middle School? All right, Trustee Hutzel makes that motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Ubanek makes a second. I will now call for the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right, Dr. Nivens?
Yes, I also want to be clear that with there being green, green is now the new track color of the entire track. So now, Ms. Cole-Hamilton, we'll talk about our strategic planning committee.
All right, trustees, so this item is for you to approve the roster of the Strategic Plan Committee. So forming a diverse and dynamic strategic plan committee is a critical part of our ongoing efforts to start the strat plan process here in Lamar CISD. Approval of this roster this evening will authorize these individuals to start their duties, which include assessing current strategies, identifying areas for improvement, and recommending actionable plans that align with our district's goals and objectives. This committee is composed of selected members from various segments of our school community, including teachers, administrators, parents, and other stakeholders. Their role will be pivotal in shaping the strategic direction of our district over the coming years. Committee members were appointed by members of the board and the superintendent. In addition, campus staff representatives were appointed as a result of their honor as a support staff member, teacher, or principal of the year. Our committee expectations, our committee members will collaborate with other key stakeholders, including district leaders, educators, parents, and fellow community members. Their role will involve actively participating in discussions and sharing their perspectives, reviewing relevant data and reports to inform their collective decision-making process, and helping to formulate strategic recommendations that will guide district initiatives. This evening, trustees, I believe you have a copy of the roster in front of you. There's also one on the screen that represents the 28 members who will serve on this committee. The committee members received an email explaining the time commitment, and we do understand the value of their time, and we're committed to ensuring that their involvement is impactful and manageable. So this committee is expected to meet at least once a month, typically from 6 to 8, beginning in September and concluding in May. Additional subcommittees may be scheduled as necessary. The first kickoff meeting takes place next week, September 24th, right here in this board meeting room.
Any questions and discussion? And trustees, we will be posting the next week's meeting as an actual board meeting so that all of us can attend. And for the public's sake, if there's 3 or more, or 4 or more trustees in a room, it's called a quorum, and then we have to have that as a posted meeting. So it's not required for us as trustees, but for us to come listen and be a part of that, we will be posting that meeting as well, so.
Just for clarification, it is a publicly posted meeting, but it is not open to the public because we would immediately go to executive session with the committee. Correct. So it's not for anybody to come and participate and listen in.
Thank you. All right, may I have a motion for the Board of Trustees to approve the Strategic Planning Committee roster? All right, Trustee Box makes that motion. Do we have a second? Trustee Hotzel makes that second. Any discussion? We will now call for the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
We will now have reports and presentations on the information items.
Trustees, we have our Chief Garcia to come and give us a brief overview of, a brief update on safety overview.
Good evening, Dr. Nivens, Mr. President, Board of Trustees. Thank you for having me this evening. I'm here to discuss an update with the police department and what we've been up to over the past year. As of this school year, I'm happy to say that all of our campuses have a full-time police officer assigned to their campus. Agency, right now, as it speaks, we're hiring additional 15 more officers to backfill positions and create a patrol division. This year alone, we were able to purchase 18 police vehicles through aid of grants from not just the bond office, but grants as well. We established an investigations unit, and they've been very busy. Last week, that was the unit responsible for going out and investigating these threats after hours. The officers this year are armed with standardized equipment and weaponry. We wanted to make sure that any of the weapons that were assigned to our officers were reliable and met the needs that were required of them inside of this environment. This year, we're beginning to research and develop a standard tactical response team. Many of you are familiar with the terminology SWAT. This is a Tier 4 response team to begin building and training and have the capabilities of rapid response in case of active threat emergencies inside the campus. Currently, the Lamar Consolidated Police Department, we're currently in research of establishing our own telecommunications network or operators. Basically, this gives us a dispatch who would monitor alarm calls 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the Lamar Consolidated School District, receive 911 calls that are transferred into our district, as well as respond to calls for service after hours. This type of unit serves as a communication resource for all district-related safety personnel. The 24-25 school year was the start for us to take on the safety and security specialist. The integration between the police department as well as the security team here at Lamar Consolidated was integrated at the end of last semester. Immediately, we looked at strategically placing this personnel throughout the district where it made sense. The redistribution of safety and security specialists allowed us to assign to all high school and junior high campuses, as well as the middle school, a safety and security specialist who acts in combination with the police officer as well as administration, an extra set of eyes. We're working right now to fill 3 middle school vacancies. This is the first time in a while we've reached almost a 95% capacity in that position. Good recruiting efforts by our staff, our safety and security specialists, and I definitely want to give a shout out to Mr. Sean Joyner, the safety and security specialist at Lamar Consolidated High School, who assisted with recruiting some fine candidates. This year's focus for safety and security is to make sure that we standardize their training, bring their training regimen and curriculum up to state standards, and make sure that we're clocking training and getting them involved in the integrations with the police department, getting them on board with us so that way the response protocols are uniformed. This year, we revamped the Safety and Security Committee for Lamar CISD. Again, the integration inside of with the police department allowed us to look at these state mandates and what the Safety and Security Committee does for a school district. Texas Education Code 37109 requires each school district to establish a Safety and Security Committee based on the Texas School Safety Center guidelines. This committee in and of itself is unique because it is already tells you the members who need to serve on that committee. Their responsibilities developed in the implementation of the EOPs, provide periodical board updates to the Board of Trustees, much like I'm doing now. Supply any campus and facility the support services and possibly equipment needed. Review each report that the district submits to the Texas School Safety Center, and work with local law enforcement agencies up to selecting bleeding control stations for each campus, and hold regularly scheduled meetings according to the law. This year, this committee grew to 14 members. Because we're such a vast district of 384 square miles and we overlap 14 jurisdictions, we work with so many law enforcement agencies that it's important that they know, one, the police department and safety and security is here, what our mission and goal is, and bring in their perspectives. So we invited not only the city of Sugar Land, Richmond, Rosenberg, Fort Bend County Office of Emergency Management, along with the Sheriff's Office, Dr. Nivens, and the board president themselves. This committee's risen to about 14 members in order for us to gain those perspectives and insights to let everybody know what our commitment is here at Lamar Consolidated. Several initiatives on safety have taken place. One of the initiatives to make sure that our ERPs are not just words on a paper. We want to make sure that those response plans are robust. They include evacuation routes, staging areas, entry points, points of access to the area, and not just bleed control kits. We want to make sure that our campus administrators, our police officers, our security personnel understand what is expected of them and have access to that EOP. That's why inviting so many members to join the Safety and Security Committee is vital in us making sure that those plans are exactly what is needed for Lamar Consolidated.
Chief, what does EOP stand for?
EOP is an Emergency Operations Plan for the district. I apologize for the acronym. That's cop stuff, I guess. Focus on training is another safety initiative that is extremely important as a law enforcement agency and safety and security personnel. You're only as good as your training and what you plan to do. All of our officers are state mandated to receive active shooter training through alert from the Texas School Safety Center. They're required to do that once every 2 years. We're doing that every year, every summer. We're going to strive to exceed the state mandate in that because it's very important that we utilize the summertime for us to hold these drills and train our staff with the current remedies that are out there. Also, part of that training is allowing us to test agency and district responses through tabletop exercises. Bringing the Fort Bend County Office of Emergency Management in Region 4, we were able to do an active shooter tabletop exercise that actually put to test some of our district responses through a tabletop active conversation to see where we need to strengthen and areas in which we do well. This is moving towards a multi-agency, multi-jurisdictional exercise. We're planning to hold Alert Air here within the district over this summer. Alert stands for Active Law Enforcement Rapid Response Training, Active Attack Integrated Response. This goes from your dispatchers to law enforcement personnel to fire and EMS, so that way you can establish and watch your district function under a unified command. Initiatives on safety, one of the most important things that we observed here upon my arrival and the lieutenant's arrival here is networking. We're preventing silo communication, letting people know that Lamar CISD police are here, letting them know that safety and security are here, and we take our roles and our assignment very seriously. We're preventing that silo communication by ensuring that we're reaching out and working with our counterparts. I have a direct contact with the chiefs, all in Fort Bend County, as well as the sheriff. Many times I've talked to them on the phone after hours, exchanging information and bouncing ideas on each other back and forth. Their partnership has been critical over the past year, and they're here for us, and I want to thank them for that. We're conducting campus walkthroughs with other agencies. As you see, this is an example that's something that occurred last week at Wright Junior High. If you notice, you see DPS, Fort Bend County, other agencies coming to do walkthroughs in our campus. We're not afraid to invite you in. Come take a look at what we have to deal with on a daily basis, how massive our campuses are getting that feedback from them as we're walking through from their perspectives, taking some of those on-the-fly conversations and recommendations, and the sergeants are bringing them back up, and we're integrating them in our district EOPs. Partnering with agencies is essential, such as DPS, Fort Bend County, Rosenberg, Richmond, Sugar Land, and Fulshire, Fire and Fort Bend EMS, as well as the Office of Emergency Management, who's not on this list. But all of these agencies, minus DPS, sit on our Safety and Security Committee. Another initiative is technology. We have to embrace the technology. The mindset of Lamar Consolidated and talking with Dr. Nivens, it's no obstacles whatsoever. And one of those things is integrating and bringing technology into this district and embracing that technology. A lot of law enforcement agencies tend to shy away from that because it's the unknown. Well, here we embrace it. Technology portion is we're working with the bond office on design of new campus security measures. We've adopted CPTED, which is crime prevention through environmental design, and integrating technology within that. We're working to standardize access control, alarm monitoring, as well as surveillance. We're trying to improve district security measures with researching and testing and adopting artificial intelligence technology for weapon detection. And currently, right now, we utilize a robust platform that scans social media contents for threats. It provided a lot of assistance to us last week when we were seeing this flux of threats. And of course, the anonymous reporting system, Sky Alert, has proved invaluable. With that, I'll take any questions or discussion. Yes, ma'am.
You had one of your slides, I don't know if you could go back, it was one of the initiatives on safety, and it was about the Safety and Security Committee, I believe?
Yes, ma'am.
One more?
This one?
Okay, yeah, so with, no, maybe go forward one. Yes, okay, so the top stuff where it talks about creating these plans with the evacuation routes, staging areas, entry points. So once, well, I know your officers know that, but when you meet with the administration at the school, do you also bring in teachers for them to hear all of these things? Like, where's the bleed control kit? Where's the, you know, all those things?
So to kind of answer that question, part of the committee actually includes parent as well as a teacher on the Safety and Security Committee. So we do have the insight for principals and teachers and administration on the campus. As we build these EOPs and they get approved from the Safety and Security Committee, we are making these available to the campus administrators. So they have those EOPs in place at their disposal, 100%. It does no good to have them papers locked away in a drawer or that plan locked away in a drawer. It's important to bring the administration in on these EOPs and then bring them in on the tabletop exercises. I want to thank the area superintendent, Red Track. There he is. Name escapes me for a second now. His second day here, he actually sat in on the active shooter tabletop exercise. And he said, I've never experienced anything like this. That it just shows the dedication that we have from the safety and security and law enforcement side of your district to incorporate the campus level administration as well as the mid-management administration. We can't be successful without them knowing what is expected.
And trustees, this wasn't originally on the agenda for today. I talked to Dr. Nivens. I guess it was when the first kind of rumors started coming in about some things happening on social media. And I said, for our community and our publics and our parents and our teachers and our students' sake, we need to talk about this and let you talk about the things that are important to you and that you value. So safety and security is one of those things that is a top priority for us. And for the community's sake, there are things that are in Chief's playbook that he is not talking about tonight. There are protocols in place that we have as a district. There are systems in place that we don't give the playbook away. So I know looking at convocation and looking at the large capacity events that we've had from graduations, this is the first time that I've felt and I've seen just felt extremely safe for the people that are in the room. You look from our vantage point on the stage, you see everything, and then I see officers in place, and I see them staged, and I see them active. I see heads on a swivel, and all that's due to Chief's leadership and Lieutenant Latrigue, which is here in the back as well, walking around the football games on Friday nights, Thursday nights, Saturday nights. These men are up there, like they're scanning and they're watching and picking out plans, and they have a game plan that they are doing. So I want to say thank you to you, Chief, as you lead this. So thank you so much.
Thank you all for the support.
Any other discussions, questions?
Thank you.
All right. Are there any items on the future consent agenda that trustees would like to pull for discussion at the October board meeting? All right, Hearing none, it is 7:29 PM. We are adjourning to closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, and 551.082, the Open Meetings Act, to discuss personnel, land acquisition, or consultation with our attorney.
Board of Trustees are returning from closed session. Board of Trustees are returning from closed session.
We are now back in open session. It is 8:13 PM. We have a quorum. There are no motions to be made. The meeting is adjourned at 8:13 PM.